Hello and welcome to Monkey's Paperpalooza Craft Corner. Today we are going to do part 2 of our 3-part series on the My Monthly Hero Kit for July 2018. So in this one we'll be making 4 cards. So let's start with card number 1. So for this card we're going to start by stamping our sentiment inside my cardstock card form. And I chose the one that says, I'm here for you through the ups and downs. And I'm going to be doing that in the Danube blue. Let's do another layer there. All right, that looks good. All right, so next we're going to get our panel done. And I'm going to start by blending the blue, reactive blue that came in the kit. And I'm just going to blend it lightly onto this panel. Go over it one more time, just to blend in the spots that came in when I was pushing my sponge down. All right, that looks about right. I mean, there's a little spotty, but it's not a big deal. And now I'm going to spray it with some of my glitter spray. I just dab some of it off with a claw. That way we got that beautiful speckled, water speckled design on it. I'm going to touch that up one more time, make sure it's really sponged off. And then I'm going to come in with a wet section and I'm going to sponge off. This is a great lifting technique. You can use watercolors as well as other items. You can do it with plain water and you can even sometimes do it with rubbing alcohol. But it makes a fun like cloud effect, which is really neat. And I wanted that effect in the background. So you just sponge it on, lift off the color. And you can go back over with a dry one if you feel like you need to do more. And there, I think that'll be about it once I get this last bit done. Right, I'm going to heat set that, my heat gun, just to dry it as much as possible. Getting all the spots that are wet dried down. All right, so now for our next part, I am going to stamp the image of the airplane that came in the kit with a very blank flag. And the fun thing about this flag is you could actually add a couple sentiments you could end up using inside there to make words on it. Or you could leave it blank, either way, depending on what type of card you are making. And I find sometimes some of the other little sentiments you can actually flex in and make them fit in there too. So I'm doing this in the tuxedo black. And I'm just going to clean out the stamp because I'm going to go over it with my embossing ink and I'm going to heat emboss in Recollections clear. That way I have a nice glossy finish to this airplane. Sure, I got it all covered. And then I'm going to heat set that embossing powder. Like I said, it's going to give this airplane a nice gloss. And now I'm going to come in with the sentiment that came with the kit. The hello there And I'm going to try to line it up. Though I didn't get it quite as lined up as I thought I did. I don't know why. I think I was off by a bit. And I'm going to do this in the rhubarb stock. And I'm going to die cut it out with the corresponding die that came with the kit. And I've also die cut some clouds. Those clouds, of course, are from the June kit. And I just die cut them out of some pearl cardstock. And now I'm going to put my panel on a piece of craft foam just to give it a little lift. And of course I'm using my AdTech roller that I have been using for the last few cards. I find that it works a lot better, and I actually might stop using the Elmer's and start using this one. I feel it's a lot stickier, and it does give a nice hold to my panels as well as the pieces that I add to it. And it's not bad. The price for the refills wasn't bad either. I think I found a 10-pack for like $7 or $8. It wasn't bad. So we're going to add our little pieces that we die cut out onto our panel. And I'm going to use my Scotch adhesive squares to put on the airplane in the banner. And of course it's kind of hard to put one on the string, so we're just let that free float. I'm going to put that right in the center. And then I'm going to put some of the clouds right on the panel with my adhesive, and others are going to be lifted. Or actually, maybe I'll lift them all. So don't mind me as I put all these little squares on there. Just getting these Scotch squares all lined up so that they give a good hold, but then also make sure they line up right too. There's one cloud. I'm going to add the second big cloud now. And I think for this one I will end up putting them all in a 3D effect just to give it some dimension. After all, I got the backdrop in the back where they have the lifted clouds, so I don't think I want to put too many different dimensions. Now we have a little tiny cloud and these thin clouds. This is a great way to use more than one kit. I mean, once you use a Hero Arts kit, you can use them again and use them with other kits too. Mix and match, have fun with them. That's one of the things I love about having the subscription is I don't miss out on them, and it allows me to have the kits that I can mix and match, which is really fun. I just keep them in my little collection, and there's always a time when I need them. And sometimes, like the March one had very great sentiments in it, so I use that one a lot in other ones because sometimes you just need the right sentiment for a card. So here I am, I'm finishing up the little adhesive squares on these clouds. This card is very simple, but it has some beautiful shimmer in it between the pearl in the clouds as well as the pearl on the panel. It gives it a good little shimmer because the spray has shimmer too. I don't know if you can see the shimmer, but it's right there. But it gives it a nice shimmer, so you don't really need any more embellishments. Now for our second card, I am going to be making a almost sunset dusk scene. So I'm starting with my the mustard seed. And then I'm going to come in with my spiced marmalade. So I'm just going to blend those in. And next is going to be the worn lipstick. I'm going to blend that on in there too. If you haven't ever used Distress Oxides, they are beautiful ink. They are creamy, blendable ink. They are a hybrid of pigment ink and dye ink, so you get beautiful color, but you have the spreadability and the opaqueness of a pigment ink, and they are just awesome for blending. Then I'm going to add some wilted violet. And the last color I'm going to add is going to be faded jeans. Alright, so there is the panel that I blended, but I do feel like I need a little bit more here on the top. And I'm going to heat set that because I'm going to end up embossing on this panel, and I don't want any ink that might be wet. So I'm going to get a nice heat set on this and put it aside. And now I'm going to heat emboss on a panel of black cardstock the image of the roller coaster. And I'm going to do that in the Hero Arts Silver. So I'm going to get that heat set, and it gives it a beautiful shine. And I am going to end up die cutting that out so that it gives a beautiful little silhouette. But now, while I'm letting that cool off, I am going to add the silhouette of the amusement park that comes with the kit. But first I'm going to start by putting the fence line. There was a beautiful little fence line that came with the kit. And I noticed I hadn't used it in my previous one, so I decided let's get that in there so that you can see what it looks like with the fence line. And I'm just not getting a good imprint, so I'm going to try to make sure the foam is right behind it. That way I get a good cut. And there we go. So now I'm going to put the little silhouette in there and behind it. Alright, so now that I got that lined up, I'm going to put that also in the same black ink. I'm going to line that up, and that's going to be in the tuxedo black. I'm going to stamp most of the image except for that last bit of the roller coaster. I just want to make sure I get a nice vibrant color. Since this is on watercolor paper, it does take a couple more layouts than it does with regular cardstock. Because of course you have a little bit of texture in your watercolor paper and the ink seeps in really fast. And there we go, that looks dark enough to me. And now I'm going to add the little fireworks. And I'm going to do it in a set of 3s. And these I'm going to actually heat emboss. And I'm going to set my little roller coaster where I'm going to put it. And that way I know exactly where I want to line up my fireworks. Because I don't want to have them hidden or not be exposed. Make sure it's still in place. It should be. Alright, so the first one I'm going to do is in rhubarb stock. And I'm going to actually also heat emboss that in the clear embossing powder so that we have a little bit of shine to it. Alright, so that's heat embossed. So now I'm going to do my next color. And I want to do it in a little jump of 3. So I figured since that roller coaster is going to be on that side, we're going to do it here. So the next one is going to be in the new blue. And I'm going to heat set that. And the last one is going to be right over there. And I'm going to do that in the potter's clay. I was going to do Tangela, but I think I chose potter's clay because it was a little bit darker. And I'm going to heat set that also in the clear. Now the last thing we're going to add is our sentiment. And I chose I am there for you through the ups and downs. And I'm going to do that in the same silver that I did the roller coaster. And there we go. So there is our panel. But I did notice when I pulled it up that I had smudged the ink. For some reason, the ink was not completely dry. So I'm going to have a little goof up. So we're going to alternate this a little bit. Instead of the roller coaster being on the opposite side, I'm going to put it right there where I smudged it. And that covers up the big boo-boo there. I don't know why it didn't dry, especially since I heat set it a couple times. But for some reason, the ink did not set and it got smeared. So luckily, there's always a way to fix mistakes. And when you do make a mistake, don't feel bad. I mean, it happens. You know, just find a way that you can alter it. There's no reason to scrap your card, especially after you've done, like I just did, majority of the work. Just find a way to cover it up and make it work. After all, materials can get expensive and you don't want to waste. So I'm going to stick this panel on a piece of craft foam. Get some good layer adhesive down since I did do some blending and heat setting on this. It might have some warping. So I do find with this Aztec roller, it is super sticky. It has more stickiness to it. So I feel like the warping just holds down a lot better. And I'm going to put this on a A6 card form in black. And then I'm going to add my little roller coaster to cover my smudge mark right there. And I'm going to let it go over a little bit. It's not a big deal. Now, I wanted to add some pizzazz to this card. So I'm going to take out my sunflower sequins in the silver, the gold, and the red Aurora Borealis. Those are available also on my site. And we just got them back in stock, so we are fully stocked in all the colors now again. But they just give that little explosion in the center, which is really nice. Now let me get the red one in there. And there we go. And now I'm going to top the top of this card. Oops, I had one that didn't stick, so let me fix that silver one. But first, I guess I did that first, we're going to put in the Enjoy the Ride inside. Because we have a black card form, like always, you can't really stamp in a black card form except for with pigment, ink, and that just gets messy. So you're going to stamp it on a piece of white paper or any colored paper that's lighter than the card form, and then you can do that. And your sentiment will show, and it also gives the person who gets the card to use a way to write a sentiment inside. So I'm just going to go over this once more with some more of the jeans. Faded jeans, just to give that silver a little bit more pop because I felt it was blending in a little. And then I'm going to add adhesive to this inside panel, and I'm going to add that inside. Like I said, this roller is super sticky. It really sometimes sticks as you roll in it. Alright, so like I said, I'm going to top this card off. And the last thing I'm going to add, and I did show this in the last video, are my Aurora Borealis translucent jelly sequins. And like I said in the last video, if you didn't catch it, I'll leave a link. They show whatever color is underneath them. So they don't have that almost white look to them. They have a clear. So they will take whatever color you have behind them. If you have purple behind them, they will pick up the purple. If you have blue, it will pick up the blue. Aren't those gorgeous? Right now, I think we're low on stock in those. I do have more coming in the 4 and also the 3. Alright, now for my next card, we're going to have a little fun with balloons. So I'm just going to put them in a line here, and I'm going to alternate between the different blues, and I'm going to speed this up. I did end up doing this in Archival ink because I'm going to be doing Arteza markers with them, color them in, and then I'm going to do something fun to give the balloons a little pop. So I'm just putting this on a piece of craft card stock, giving it that fun, almost brown background, because I love bright colors on craft. Craft just pops. I think it pops better than it does on white. I don't know what it is, but it does. So now that I got my lines of balloons stamped, and I did speed that up because stamping can take a while, I'm going to now color my balloons. Like I said, I'm using my Arteza markers. They're a fun brush marker, and they are water-based ink, so they can be used as a marker or as a watercolor, which is really fun. So I'm going to randomly color my balloons with these bright primary colors. I got a red, a blue, a green, orange, and yellow. And I am just going to color them randomly and make them bright and happy. And I did speed this up because sometimes coloring takes a while, and nobody wants to sit there and watch me color little balloons for an hour. Or even in this case, it was 20 minutes, but still, 20 minutes is 20 minutes. And there's the yellow. And then we're going to do the green, just to fill it in. And I'm trying to randomly give the colors, so that way they're not all the same, but yet gives enough colors. Okay, with some more blue. And last, we're going to do some more red. Oop, and a little yellow there. And I think this last one I'll do yellow too. There we go. So there's all my balloons colored. So I'm going to let that dry. And while we're letting that dry, we are going to stamp out the happy birthday neon sign that came with the kit. And I kind of goofed a little bit. And I'm going to actually end up heat setting that with some clear embossing powder because once again, I'm coloring with Arteza markers. And I wanted there to be a little shine in the words. And also to make sure the colors didn't bleed too much. Alright, so I'm going to heat set that. And then I'm going to use the little die to die cut it out after. But first, I'm going to color it in the same colors that we used on the balloons. So I'm going to color rainbow colors for the happy birthday, and then, of course, do the little neon sign. Isn't that fun? Making use of the fun colors we are using in this card. I'm just going to give my dots a little yellow tinge to them, and then I'm going to come in with the blue for the arrow, because I was thinking of all the colors that is the most vibrant, and I always do like blue and yellow together. It makes it pop. Getting all those little dots, and I'm going to just start coloring, and then I'm going to go into the next part, because I think we've watched enough coloring. Alright, so inside the card I'm putting Enjoy the Ride, and I'm doing it in an ombre effect with my red, orange, and blue, so that way I get the same effect as the cards. Now I'm going to cut some craft foam that fits perfectly behind this card, and I am going to adhere that, of course, to my panel. The nice thing about craft foam, doing it with craft foam versus foam tape, is you get a nice, consistent, even texture, and it mails real well. That way your card doesn't get crushed or anything. I'm going to lay that craft panel on top of my craft card form. And now I'm going to mount this with some foam squares. And there we go, put that on there. Now, I wanted to make these balloons really pop. I mean, this alone is really cute. But to give them a little bit more texture, I decided to come in with my glossy accents from Ranger. So after I've primed my tip, because last time I did it exploded, I wanted to make sure that it was primed this time. And I'm just going to go over the tops of the balloons with the glossy accents to give it a little bit of shine. You can also, if I have used in the past, is the Hero Arts Lacquer pen if you don't have glossy accents. Or even some people like putting a little sparkle, you can put a little bit of Wink of Stellar. I love these glossy accents. And I bought a big bottle, very versatile. And there you go. And it gives those balloons a little extra something. And there's our card number 3. All right, our last card. I am going to be making a beautiful little silhouette card. And it's going to be in a kind of sepia pattern. So I'm bringing in a lot of rich cocoa. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to stamp the Ticket to Fun inside in the rich cocoa. And on my panel, I am going to stamp out the image of the Ferris wheel as well as the concession stand. And those are going to be in that rich cocoa also. And get that really good. And I'm doing this on a tan cardstock panel. That way it keeps in that sepia family. I saw one of these cards on their blogs, on their blog hop for Hero Arts, and it was so pretty. They just did it in browns. I decided to add a little bit of pop of color, only because I really like the idea of the color. Now I'm going to also stamp these, the Ferris wheel and the concession stand, on some Inkadinkado masking paper. That way I can stamp more images without losing them. So I'm going to stamp those out quickly and then fussy cut them out. And then I'm going to lay them on top of my things while I put this silhouette on there. That way they stay in the front of the picture versus being moved to the back. And I think that's a good dark layer there. Maybe one more imprint just so I get around that Ferris wheel a little bit more. All right, I think that's going to be about it. And there we go. Now, I did notice my legs of my Ferris wheel kind of got blended in a little bit with that, so I'm just going to go over it quickly with my distress marker just to darken it a little bit. That way it kind of pops more than the stuff behind it. All right, now the next thing is I'm going to take the same color in a strip and I'm going to stamp out the merry-go-round. Or like some people call it, the carousel. And I'm going to also get that ready to color. That one I'm going to make a 3D element in the middle. So here is our panel. Now, like I said, I wanted to stay in a kind of a sepia family, so I found a very burgundy red, a midnight blue, as well as a light and medium brown. And I'm going to try to keep this in this color because I want it to look vintage. So I'm going to come in with a brown and color, trying to keep it in the same families. That way it gives it that effect, like it's a vintage photo. I'm coming in with my darker brown, Coming back in with my red and blue. Coloring in the stripes. The kind of a red, white, blue feel. And get those stripes in the red done. Like I say, the tips of these markers work really good for this because you get that brush effect. So you get a really nice fine tip. So if you do it really light, you can get it even in the tiniest of spots. Alright, now I'm going to come in with that blue. You can start to see the effect that I'm going for in this. So I'm going to get that lower level done first, and then I'm going to do the top stripes. Now for the windows, I decided I was going to go for a dark teal once I'm done with this last layer. I'm just doing a quick line down the back, because I didn't want them to be that clear color. So I'm going to pull in this like turquoisey teal, or this dark teal, and I'm just going to color it in. Keeps it in that same darker tone family. And now I'm going to color my Ferris wheel elements. Keeping the same colors in the card. I decided to do one like this because the last few cards have been very bright. So let's show that you can actually do different tones. You can have a more somber tone like this card, which might be good for a masculine card, for a masculine birthday. Or you can go bright and happy for like kids' birthdays and stuff like that. So now we're going to do the carousel / merry-go-round in the same tones that I used in the other ones. I'm coloring in the same colors as you see, that way they stay very light in color. I wanted the cards, the whole card, to have that kind of sepia look, so that's why this part even. I was thinking about doing it maybe brighter, but I said, nah, let's make it the same. It kind of shows how you can use the same kit and get totally different looks with the same elements. I'm coloring in my horses. I don't know if you hear a little voice behind me, but of course my son's playing in the next room while I'm doing this. He wanted to be close to me, so hopefully he's not interfering with the video too much. Alright, so I'm going to die cut out that carousel. And now I'm going to stamp the little banners on top. Alright, so we got one banner on one corner. Now I'm going to try to line this up so they're about even on both sides. And then I'm going to, after I'm done stamping them, color them in the same tones as the concession stand. But first we're going to put in come one, come all, as well as the little dot pattern that came also in the kit. And I'm going to do that rich cocoa as the rest of the card. And here I am, and like I said, I'm going to color them in the same reds and blues. And I did make one little goof up, and you'll see later on. Apparently I couldn't remember the pattern I was doing. Did you see my goof up? Oopsie daisy. But it's alright. We're going in with a darker color. It will cover it up. There we go. All better. So now I'm going to come in with the same colors and just color in the dots a little bit. And there we go. Now, I didn't like how clean cut this looks, so I decided to come back through with some brush corduroy and do some distressing. That way it really looks vintage. This technique would also be really cute with a scene and even a brighter card for an invitation. As I looked at it, it said it does look almost like an invitation. Come one, come all. So I'm making that nice vintagey look to it. There we go. And I'm going to do the same thing on the carousel just to give those clean edges a little vintaging. Alright, so I've got some craft foam ready. And we're going to adhere our panel to that. That way, like I did in the past, it gives it that little lift. And I'm going to come in also and put that on top of my craft cardstock. And now I'm going to take the Scotch adhesive squares and I'm going to mount my merry-go-round to the front of this card. That way it gives it a fun 3D effect right in the middle. It was kind of a great way to give the card some dimension too. Since everything in this image is 3D but flat. And there we go. Isn't that cute? I'm not going to do anything else on that. Alright, so thank you for watching, and if you like this video, please check out our last upload as one specially curated just for you. And like always, we welcome you to like our videos, subscribe, and click the notification bell, and make sure to also sign up for our newsletters for crafty sales as well as video updates.